All right, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Dow. I'm with the Jersey City Free Public Library College Readiness Team. And today we have Darlery Franco and Matthew Fessler from the Hudson County Community College. And they're going to be walking you through the enrollment and testing and placement exam. It's going to be a virtual walkthrough. We're going to get started in about a minute. So I'm going to turn the floor over to them.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Dee Franco, Assistant Dean of Testing and Assessment at Hudson County Community College. So I'll get started with the testing options, and then I'll turn it over to Matt afterwards so that he can give more information on enrollment. Next slide, please.
Absolutely.
Great. So at the testing center, we offer both remote and in-person placement options. And we're gonna dive into those into the next slide, please. So placement tests. Let's first talk about why there's a need for it. We use the placement tests to basically determine your academic skills in English and math. At Hudson, we offer various levels of English and math. And if English is your second language, we also offer a separate placement test for the ESL program.
That's what you need.
So we do offer 3 placement options. One is exemption, right? We have all these different measures that would exempt you or would give you a waiver from having to take the placement test. And then for those who are not exempt, you would have the option to take the placement test. At Hudson, we use Accuplacer. With Accuplacer, you're basically being tested on writing, reading, and math. And another placement option would be directed self-placement. That's basically you placing yourself without taking a test. But I'll get into that in a later slide. In terms of the Accuplacer, the only component that is timed is the essay. Math and reading are multiple choice, but students wishing to receive special accommodations have the option to set up an appointment with our accessibility services office. And we have the contact information listed there so that you can make an appointment prior to taking the placement test. All right, next slide, please. All right, so these are all the measures and the specific scores that would exempt you from taking the placement test. So if you are currently in high school, or if you graduated from high school in the United States within the past 5 years and have a 3.0 GPA, we can essentially look at your transcript, look at your course grades, and determine if you're exempt. We grant full and partial, depending on those grades. The next one is the SAT. And we recently lowered the scores. So, we now accept the 450 for the evidence-based reading and writing and a 500 for the math. The ACT, if you have a 21 in either English reading or math, we'll accept those scores for exemption. AP not only exempts you from taking the placement test, you may be eligible for transfer credit. So that's definitely a second perk to taking the advanced placement exam in high school. And then these other measures we have here on the right-hand side, TOEFL, typically taken by students who studied in a foreign country. And then these are the scores that would be needed to place directly into college level coursework. The GED, the HiSET, and the TASC. So if you took these exams recently and scored into these ranges, you can submit your test scores to us, and then we would use that to place you directly into English 101, and college level math. Next slide, please. Okay, so for the student who does not meet the exemption criteria in the previous slide, you do have the option to take the placement test. With the placement test, scores are basically being used to determine your course level in math, English, or ESL, if English is your second language. And currently we have 2 options. You can make an appointment at the testing center. Just to give you a sense of what that looks like, we do testing in person by appointment because we are following the social distancing guidelines, and masks are required at all times when students visit our buildings. And then the other option would be to take the Accuplacer at home. So you're taking the same test. You can take it at home. For students who are interested in this option, the first thing that we would need to make sure of is that your computer meets the system requirements. So after you apply and you reach out to the testing center, we basically send you a link. It's a diagnostic link, and it will tell you whether or not you pass all the requirements in order to take the test at home. It's basically having a computer with a webcam, high-speed internet, etc. Does not work on a Chromebook, but we can get into those details later. And the diagnostic test pretty much summarizes which requirements you have or have not passed. And the good thing about Examity is the flexibility. So in terms of the in-person placement test, we typically offer this test during the daytime. So if you're busy or work, Examity gives you that flexibility of being able to take this test at nighttime or even the weekend. All right, next slide, please. So if you decide that, hey, I think I want to take the placement test, we definitely encourage students to study. So we have 2 study tools we like to promote. One of them is straight from the Accuplacer College Board website. It's something that you can download to your phone, to your tablet, to your computer. And it gives you a mini practice test. So it gives you an idea of what types of questions to expect on the Accuplacer. And it does give you somewhat of a score to kind of gauge where you are in terms of your college readiness. And that's the website that you can use there to download that free app. All you need is an email address to download the Accuplacer Study app. And then to the right of the slide, we have a brush-up tool called EdReady. EdReady is more in-depth in terms of giving you a customized learning path. So EdReady starts you off with a mini diagnostic test in math. It breaks it down. D knows fractions, does not know decimals, and it gives you a whole breakdown of what I have mastered, what I need to review, and what I need to probably relearn. Then it gives me a personalized study path. What I like about EdReady is that when it creates that personalized study path, it focuses only on those areas that you need. So it will remember that D knows her fractions, so it's not going to focus on lessons that are fractions. And it's a pretty neat tool. Whatever score you get at the beginning of EdReady, you're able to track your progress. It's from 0 to 100. And I would say we definitely encourage students to kind of hit 80 or higher. if they really want to do this before taking the placement test. I think the range of 80 to 90, you're pretty much ready to take the placement test in terms of brushing up on math and English. That compared to the Accuplacer app, I think EdReady is more of a time commitment. It's something you probably want to spend a few hours on per week. It might take you a week or two to use EdReady in terms of the brush up part, but a great tool, and it's free. All right, Ashley, next slide, please. So here's a screenshot of a sample question you would see for the Accuplacer reading test. You're basically given a series of passages. And just to show you that first question, well, question 5, in this case, you're being asked for the main purpose, not of the whole article. You're being asked for the main purpose of the last paragraph. So these are the types of questions you'll see throughout the reading test. It's 20 questions, but again, the reading test is untimed. So that's something to take into consideration. The only time component is the writing, and it's typically the first test you'll take when taking the placement test. All right, next slide, please. All right, so here are some sample questions to the next generation QAS. And the QAS basically stands for quantitative reasoning, algebra, and statistics. And again, that link that you see there, that's going to give you a whole PDF full of sample questions. And this is straight from the Accuplacer website that designs the test. And then to my left, that basically summarizes every type of problem you'll see on the QAS test, which will give you a sense of, how much do you need to brush up on? And you'll see this on EdReady. EdReady will brush you up on all these concepts. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so just to recap. So we first started with exemptions. Technically, that should be the first step, determine whether or not you're exempt. If you're not exempt, you're left with 2 options. You either take the placement test, the Accuplacer. Remember, with Accuplacer, scores determine your placement. And now I'm going to discuss direct-to-cell placement. With direct-to-cell placement, you are choosing your own level without taking a test. But we provide you with resources. So we provide you with course descriptions for all levels of math, English, ESL. We give you a sense of what the course expectations are in the class, the type of assignments you're expected to complete in these courses. And it's important to understand the distinction between pre-college versus college level. The pre-college courses, while we offer them for students who need them, it's the college level courses that will count towards your degree and major requirements. So it's important for you to note that when you're making this decision. And whether you just graduated from high school or if you've been out of school for a while, my advice to students is to always reflect back on the last time they wrote an essay, the last time they took a math course. Even if you have been out of school for some time, think about your work. Do you have to constantly write reports as part of your job? I think this is all important factors to consider when you're picking your English level. And then the math, think back, how comfortable do you feel with statistics and algebra and all those types of functions? And maybe it's a matter of taking a mini practice test. Download the Accuplacer app and see for yourself, how much do you recall? So again, we start you off with course descriptions, and then you are directed into a questionnaire. The questionnaire is basically questions about your academic skills, and you get to basically reflect on your comfort level in terms of different types of assignments. And then at the end, you get to choose your level. And then the next step is registration. And of course, if you have additional questions about the courses you chose, you do get to speak to your academic advisor about those courses. And the testing center is also available as a resource if you need more assistance in terms of selecting your courses. So again, with Accuplacer, the scores determine your placement. With direct self-placement, the student chooses their placement. Okay, next slide. All right, so here's a sneak peek at some of the course descriptions you would see as part of the English direct self-placement. You'll see that we have courses that start with the 071, 072, and they start working their way towards the college level courses. So again, this is just one screenshot of the full document. The full document provides more details about what's covered in these courses. And this combined with a questionnaire and then your one-on-one with your advisor, all those steps would come together to help you choose your placement for your first semester without taking the placement test. Okay. Next slide, please. All right. And then with that, I turn it over to Mattessler.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dee. Appreciate that information. And I do want to make sure the main focus tonight is discussing our testing options. So we will have a Q&A at the end here for any discussion or questions. Really quick, I just want to go over some enrollment information. As Ashley and Dee said before, my name is Mattessler. I'm the Associate Dean of Enrollment here at Hudson County Community College, and I appreciate you all being here this evening, especially I'm sure we're all exhausted and tired from all the shoveling we've done from this crazy storm we recently got, but I do hope everyone is safe and well. So I will go through this relatively quickly. Like I said, I want to make sure the main focus is testing this evening, but if there is any questions about enrollment at the end, you're certainly welcome to ask them as well. So next slide, please. So really quickly, I want to make sure you're aware of our spring 2021 dates, start dates for when classes begin. Our regular 15-week term actually just began this past Monday. And if we are able to still get you in a class, we will certainly try to do that. But the good news is we have another term starting, which is a little bit of a shorter term, which we call our quick term, and that's a 12-week of classes. And that begins on February 16th. And then we also have another start term, which is our online B term. So our online A began Monday as well. And then we have our online B term, which begins on March 22nd. Next slide, please. Click it one more time. Perfect. So on here, I just really quickly wanted to show you how we're holding classes right now. Obviously, due to COVID, things aren't as normal as they always would be, but we are offering classes in 3 different ways. So we have classes online, on ground, and remote. So on ground campuses, on ground courses is exactly what it sounds like. It's on ground in class. Those are very limited. obviously due to follow safety protocols, but any class that is on campus, we are, following everything with masks, temperature checking. We have air purifiers and everything like that. So probably about 20-25% of our classes are on ground in class. Now, online courses, that is actually a little bit different than remote courses. Remote courses, you actually have a scheduled time that you meet with your professor. So you might meet every Tuesday at 2 p.m. And every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. And you will actually have a Zoom or WebEx session where you actually will meet with your professor. An online course is really on your own time. You don't have a set time that you meet with the professor. They're going to guide you. You're going to have lectures to view and coursework and things to read. But it's really on your own time and your own schedule. So you don't have a set time that you meet. So those are the 3 different ways that we're offering classes right now. Next slide, please. And as I said before, with showing you the dates for the spring 2021 term, there is still time to register for classes. And you can do that actually in 3 easy steps. The first step being to apply to HCCC. You can do that at hccc.edu/apply. And that's where you'll fill out an online application. You can use the promo code capital H, capital C, and the number 3. So that's HC3, and make sure you capitalize the H and the C. So that's HC3, and that will waive the $25 that it normally costs to apply. So make sure you take advantage of that promo code if you haven't applied already. And you can do that almost instantly if you go on tonight or tomorrow. You can apply directly online and use that promo code. The second step is everything that Darlery just spoke about. So that's determining your placement or doing testing or being exempt or doing directed self-placement. So that second step is everything Darlery went over this evening previously. And then the third step after you determine your placement is registering for classes. So you have to complete steps 1 and 2 first, and then you can register for classes. To register for classes, you can set up an appointment with a counselor, and that can be in person or remotely. There's a link there that says hccc.edu/remote services. That is where you can make an appointment with a counselor to register for your classes. Again, that can be done remotely or in person. If you have any questions about enrollment, the best contact is admissions@hccc.edu, or you can also text or call that number. It's right there under department contacts. It's 201-509-4222. And again, you can text or call. You probably will get a faster response if you text at this point in time, but you are also welcome to call as well. So either or, call or text that number. If you have any questions about admissions or enrolling, we'll be happy to help you. Next slide, please. I do want to let everyone know, if you haven't heard about it already, our Community College Opportunity Grant. For eligible students, you can actually receive free tuition and fees. That is for students with a household income of $65,000 per year or less. So if your adjusted gross income for the household is $65,000 per year or less, you can potentially be eligible to attend Hudson for free. And that is for students, for a first-time degree-seeking student. So if you already have a degree, you would not be eligible. So as long as you don't have a degree, you didn't graduate, you should be eligible for the free tuition. You can find out more information with there's a contact number there and a text line. And then you can find more information about eligibility at hcc.edu/free tuition. Next slide, please. I put up here just some helpful resources for you. So I mentioned the apply link. And again, use that promo code. Please take advantage of it, HC3, to waive the $25. Darlery talked about the remote placement options. So that's hcc.edu/remote placement. And you can find all the options there. Remote and in-person services. So we have them all listed at hcc.edu/remote services. And then if you're curious about what we're doing during the pandemic and COVID-19 and our return to campus and how what we're doing to keep everybody safe, you can find more information about that at hccc.edu/return to campus. One thing I definitely want to plug tonight is our enrollment guide. That has everything you need about enrollment can be found in the enrollment guide. So if you go to hccc.edu/enrollment guide, it will download a PDF version of our enrollment guide. I know that says summer fall on the screen there, but it is updated to our spring 2021 term. So everything you need, payment deadlines, start dates, information about logging into your student portal, all that information can be found in our enrollment guide. Next slide, please. So I just put up here really quickly just some department contacts. If you want to take a picture of this or write some of this information down. I know a lot of students obviously will be looking for financial aid, and there is still time to apply for financial aid. So don't think that, oh, it's a spring 2021 term, I'm not going to have time to do that. There is time, and they will help you apply and get that all set up very, very quickly. So we have text lines set up for admissions and financial aid, as well as the email addresses on the screen. There. The bursar, which is payments. If you have to make a payment, if you're paying out of pocket or anything like that, that's bursar. And then our advisement. So if you have any questions about registering for classes or advisement on what classes to take, that is a great email address to email, especially if you need some advice, you don't know what direction to go. They will certainly be happy to help you. And next slide, please. And I think that's pretty much it. So, at this point, I think, Ashley and Darlery, we can open it up. If anybody has any questions, there might even be some in the chat box there. So certainly feel free to ask any questions about testing, enrollment, upcoming spring 2021 term, or anything on your mind about Hudson County Community College in general.
Yeah, so there are a number of questions in the chat right now. The first one is from Naisha, and she is asking, how old can the SAT score and high school diploma be for admission?
Mute, hit mute. Join.
5 years. So if you graduated within the past 5 years, took the SATs within the past 5 years, we'll take a look at those transcripts, score reports to determine exemption.
The next question from Franchi is, where do you guys send the students who want their BA in human services?
Well, we do have different transfer partners that are set up. A lot of popular schools, of course, just because they're close by, is St. Peter's University, New Jersey City University, Kane University, Rutgers Newark. A lot of them we have agreements set up with them. Specifically, human services, I would have to check on that. But if you would email admissions@hccc.edu, we can actually get you connected to the coordinator of that program, and they can talk to you specifically about popular schools that students transfer from Hudson into a four-year school, specifically for a BA in human services. But we do have a lot of partnerships set up and agreements with schools, as well as there's opportunities for transfer scholarships as well.
From Henriette, I'm interested in the LPN.
Wonderful. We have a amazing LPN program, and there is a lot of students come in as a pre-nursing and then have to be admitted into the nursing program. But we can certainly, assist you with that pathway in getting into the LPN program. So again, another good place to start is either applying now, emailing admissions@hcc.edu. If you have specific questions about the LPN program or what that pathway looks like, we will get you connected to the nursing department, and they will certainly be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Question from Rashawn is, for the test, is there any link to taking it online?
Sure. Once you've applied, yes, because you'll need a HCC ID. So Henriette, do you already have an ID? But supposing you do, yeah, we will email you that. So everything that we basically presented today on placement options, you would get this information again after applying to Hudson County Community College. You will need an HCC ID for all the options that we discussed, because we need your record to be in the system to either record an exemption, to record your scores, or to record your direct to self-placement selection. So yes, definitely we need you to apply first before taking the placement test.
The next question is, when is the latest you can take the test if you want to attend in fall, winter 2021?
So Ashley, if you can go back to your slide number 13, I think that'll be helpful, so that folks can see the different start dates. So we do have the next one starting February 16th. So we're still testing, so classes started the 25th. Students can still add a class for that class. The add drop period has not ended yet. And then we're still registering students for the quick term. And then online B doesn't start until March. So yes, I would say, we'll keep adding dates to the in-person, keep checking the link periodically. But I wouldn't promote the last possible date, just because when you test doesn't necessarily reflect how soon you're going to get an appointment, right? Because so the testing process has an appointment to meet with an advisor. That's a whole separate calendar. And, depending on the time, there may be a wait. So we definitely want you to be proactive in terms of testing early so that you can secure your appointment with an advisor so that you can then secure your schedule in advance. So that would be the approach that I would take. Not waiting until, I would say, a deadline. But yes, we do have 2 more start dates for the spring term.
And I believe this also answers Brianna's question. Will there be more dates to schedule in-person testing?
Yes, absolutely. I think right now, definitely the focus is on spring 2021. I think folks who are applying to summer, fall, you can count on there being more dates later on in the semester, late February, early March. I think, we're definitely keeping an eye on inclement weather. So we're definitely cautious in terms of how many dates out into the spring we add. But yes, we test throughout the whole year. And there are definitely more dates to come. You just need to stay tuned to the appointments link that we share with you once you apply.
Lorna has asked, I just paid the $25 fee for the admission application without using the promo code. Is there time to stop the payment?
Lorna, I'm going to put my email address in the chat group here. Since you're attending this event, I can work with you on that since we are promoting that promo code in this specific event. So I'm going to put my email address in the chat group here. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly to see how I can help you with that. To hopefully it may still process, but we can work on getting you a refund.
Dana has asked, how do I take the ESL test? And she would also need an English class.
Okay, so what I'll do is folks who are ready to take the placement test this month, I would say, I'm I'm going to include the testing center email in the chat. And then when you email us, indicate which semester you're interested in, just to give us a sense of how soon you should test. Because folks who are applying for summer or fall and you're interested in taking the placement test, I would say take this time to brush up and study because you have time. Registration for summer fall does not start until April. So even if you test tomorrow, for instance, you would still have to wait until April to meet with an advisor. So yeah, so please send us an email to testing@hccc.edu. Just quick message that you're interested in the placement test. We'll send you an overview of all the options that I reviewed today, and then also include which semester you're interested in, so that we can kind of help guide you with the next steps.
So the next question is from John. What is the process for the supply chain management certificate course, the start time and financial aid available?
I believe you said his name was John, right?
Yes.
John, I put my email address in the chat group here. If you want to email me, I want to share with you. We're actually going to be doing a virtual event on that very soon. Similar timeline for like the start dates for spring 2021. Financial aid is available, so you would still be able to get financial aid for that program. But I can send you some specific information about the program that will hopefully answer a lot of your questions. So like I said, I did put in the chat group here. It was at 5:31 p.m. My email address, mfessler@hcc.edu. Reach out to me and I can send you some information.
The next question is from Jayla, which is how many classes or credits are considered part-time versus full-time?
That's a great question. So to be considered a full-time student, you must be enrolled in 12 or more credits. So anything that's 11 credits or less, you would be considered a part-time student. And depending on if you're part-time or full-time, that can influence the amount of financial aid you receive. And in regards to the amount of money that you'll receive. So again, 12 credits or more is full-time. And 11 credits or less is part-time. I would say the typical amount of the standard credits, I guess you could say, for students in when they're registered for a term is usually about 15 credits.
The next question comes from Michael. Are transfer students only accepted into the nursing program after they have completed the general classes?
I don't know. Not necessarily true. There are certain prerequisites that you'll have to take before that are required to start getting accepted into the nursing program. The other classes you can sometimes take together with your other nursing programs, but there are very specific prerequisites that you must have taken before getting accepted into the nursing program. In the chat box there, I did put it was at 5:32 p.m. I put the email address, which is they're very on top of it, and we'll get back to you. So if you email healthprograms@hcc.edu for any specific questions about LPN or any of our health related programs, you can email healthprograms@hcc.edu, and they can really answer any specific questions that you might have.
The next question also comes from Jayla. It is the spring quick term can be done fully online or is it just in person?
There are options to do it online. There's also right now we're also offering a lot of our quick term classes are also remote. So remember, online is you don't have a set time you meet with the professor. Remote is when you do have a set time. You're still online, but you have a set time each week that you meet with your professor. So there's a lot of flexibility right now. So yes, the quick term, there are classes you can do online as well as remotely.
The next question comes from Sarah. I'm a DFAB freshman. When do I register and also join college?
They're a freshman, I'm assuming in high school. Is that what they're saying here?
I'm not entirely sure. Sarah, can you elaborate? Yes.
Freshman. Okay. So you do have some time. It's always great to get a jump on things and understand the process with college. So right now, for Hudson County Community College, you have plenty of time. There's no need to submit an application at this time because it will become deactivated if you don't enroll after a certain amount of time. So you're really looking at the end of your junior year, beginning of your senior year, is when you want to start filling out that, submitting your application and making sure that you're taking all the steps to enroll, which also includes either being exempt, taking the placement test, and then registering for classes. Typically, for like a fall start term, our registration opens usually in the beginning of April. So in April 2021, all our registration will open for the fall 2021 term.
The following question comes from Anna. I am an international student. Can the college help me with the student visa?
So we don't specifically assist students with getting the visa. We do have international students that enroll at Hudson County Community College all the time, but the actual process of obtaining your visa, that is something that you have to take care of, or work with another organization that can help you get that visa. So we don't specifically help with the visa. But like I said, we do have a lot of international students that come to Hudson County Community College on their visa and enroll in classes. So I can always send you we have a direct person that works with international students. So I'm gonna let me get her email address. Her name is Sabrina Bullock, and I'm gonna put her email address in the chat box. And if you have any specific questions about international students, since she's the international student representative, she would be the best person to talk to.
The next question comes from Rashawn. For people who make $60,000 or less per year, everything will be free with regards to payments, correct?
Yes, I mean there's a few other eligibility requirements. You do have to be enrolled in 6 or more credits. You can't have a degree already. You do have to still apply for financial aid. And they're going to see first what you qualify for, and whatever it doesn't cover, you would be eligible for tuition and fees to be covered. So the best thing to do is to reach out to our financial aid office, and they can certainly give you more information about your eligibility. But it sounds like you're off to a good start if you're making, if the income is $60,000 or less. Remember, the threshold is $65,000 or less. So sounds like you're off to a good start. But yeah, the tuition would be free, as well as fees as well. Now, I do want to say, depending on the class, you may have to pay for books or supplies or things like that, but tuition and fees would be covered.
The next question comes from Jennifer. She's currently a senior in high school. Do you recommend for her to take the placement test as soon as possible for fall 2021?
Okay. Well, first we would want to see if you're exempt. So if you have a 3.0, definitely, and we would even accept your final junior year GPA. So you're a senior, and if you recently got your GPA from that 11th grade, and it's a 3.0, we can exempt you now, based on that. We can, and if you're not planning to take the SATs and you've already decided I'm going to take the Accuplacer, I would say brush up. Use this time to either use EdReady or the Accuplacer study app, because even if you test tomorrow, you still have to wait until April to see an advisor to create your schedule. So I would say, use this time to study, And in terms of your results, if you're not happy with your placement results, you may be eligible for a retest. ESL students may have a different criteria to meet in terms of retesting. But if you place into the pre-college math or the pre-college English levels, students do get another retest opportunity. So yes, I did see that question floating there. Students can retest.
The next question comes from Denise. Are quick term students considered full-time?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again? I was actually typing a response to somebody when you asked it.
Sure. Denise's question is, are quick term students considered full-time students?
So quick term is really the 12-week term. So you could enter the quick term and take enough credits to be considered a full-time student. So the quick term begins February 16th. If you enrolled in that term and took 12 or more credits, you would be considered a full-time student. But again, if you registered less than 12 credits, 11 or less, you would still be in the quick term, but you'd be considered a part-time student.
So from Megan, if I want to take classes in the summer at the time, the free tuition is also available for eligible students?
So what I would recommend is just contacting our financial aid office just in regards to your eligibility and when you'll be able to use it. So I'll put in the chat group here just so you have it. I know we shared, or actually if you want to share the slide 18, that's the financial aid's contact information is on there. I just always recommend speaking to them and seeing, what you're eligible for. And you may be eligible for financial aid as well, and you may be able to get grants through that as well. So I just recommend reaching out to them just to determine your eligibility and when it can be available.
The next question comes from Jayla, which is, how much is every credit worth, or is the amount per class? And does the quick term have a set price?
So I'm assuming you're asking how much is each credit cost, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to share a link, if I can get it here, which will actually show you the breakdown of what everything costs. And what the link I'm going to share with you is hcc.edu/tuition. Just one second here. And if you scroll down just a little bit on that page, when I share it with you, you'll see the tuition and fee schedules. And you want to make sure you go to the 2020-2021. So right now it's $149 per credit. So $149 per credit. And I'm going to share that right now with everybody. That's hcc.edu/tuition. And it's $149 a credit, but you can, if you go on there, click on the schedule and fees for 2020, 2021, you can see the breakdown of everything and how much it costs. And we're significantly lower than what you're going to see at any four-year institution. One of the things we always say at Hudson is we're offering high quality academics at a cost-effective rate. We take a lot of pride in that, in making our tuition on the lower end, but also keeping up the quality of a high-end academic. So, HCCC is a great option to save money and a significant amount of money. You can save thousands and thousands of dollars. And then if you ever choose to do so, the option to transfer to a four-year institution is always on the table. So you can always make that decision after, typically it's 2 years. And if you want to do your other 2 years and transfer to a four-year institution, that option is always on the table. But if by starting at Hudson County Community College, you are going to save thousands of dollars. I'm not just saying that. You can look it up. You can Google it. You can look at other schools' rates and how much they cost. But you're going to save a significant amount of money by coming to Hudson County Community College.
Are there any other questions for Darlery or Matthew?
So I had one direct question that was sent directly to me, but I think it's a good question. And someone asked, do I have to take classes before the entrance exam? So the entrance, you don't have to take classes before you actually take the placement test. The placement test determines your college level readiness. Depending on how you do in that, you may go right into college level courses, or you may go into remedial coursework. So wherever you are at, we're going to meet you there. And even if you have to take remedial classes, we're going to make sure we get you to that college level coursework so that you can pursue your degree. So you don't have to take any classes before the entrance exam. It might be good, like Darlery said, to do some to check on your skill sets and maybe do some practice tests. I know Darlery gave some resources. It's always good to do that before you take the exam, because you want to try to do well on it so that you get into those college level courses, and that will allow you ultimately to get to graduation and your degree much faster.
Okay, question from Franchi, which is, where do you guys send the students who want their BA in Human Services?
So I did mention this before. What I would do is email admissions at hcc.edu. We do have a lot of schools that we have partnerships with, and we will we'll recommend schools for students to transfer to. But email admissions at hcc.edu and ask if you can get connected to the Human Services Department, because it's always best probably to talk to the coordinator or a faculty member, and they can really talk to you about specifically the popular schools that students are transferring in their program.
The next question is from Rashawn, which is 81.3 a good GPA for exemption?
So we would recommend, if you feel you meet the exemption criteria, to send your transcripts to admissions at hccc.edu. We would have to really look at the whole transcript in its entirety. Not only do we look at the cumulative GPA, we also look at whether or not you completed 4 years of high school within the United States. We look at your college prep English grades. We look at your math grades and the number of years of math you completed. So, just to give you an example, for those of you who are currently in high school and you're taking Algebra 2, that Algebra 2 is definitely going to prepare you for the placement test. And it depends on the city, right? It depends on your city's conversion tables. Depending on where your high school is, the definition of a 3.0 might vary. For Jersey City schools, it's typically an 85.0 is equivalent to a 3.0, but that's specific to Jersey City. So we would have to look at the whole transcript to really determine that. But you can send it to admissions at hccc.edu. We'll evaluate it, and then we'll email you with the next steps.
The next question is from Michael. Are there any financial aid options for those entering with a prior degree?
Yes, it certainly is possible. That's something that you would have to reach out to our financial aid department. They will be able to look at your history of financial aid to see if you're still eligible. So it is still certainly a possibility. I can't guarantee anything, but depending on how much financial aid you've used in the past, it is a possibility. I do know, due to the pandemic and COVID-19, there are some opportunities for adjustments in the amount of financial aid you can get. And I mean adjustments in a good way, that you might be able to qualify for even more financial aid. And that is due to COVID-19 and the pandemic. So right now might be a good time to reach out to them, to our financial aid office, to see, if the pandemic can make any adjustments in the amount of financial aid you qualify for. But they will definitely look at your history with financial aid, and determine if you're still eligible to receive further financial aid going forward.
Okay. The next question is from Henriette, which is Is the LPN a degree or certificate?
The LPN is a certificate program. So that's the LPN is a certificate program. We do have our nursing degree, which is an associate's degree. That's our nursing degree. But the LPN is a certificate program.
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions for our guests while we wrap things up? Yes, there's a question from Henriette, which is, do I have to take classes before the entrance exam?
No, you would not have to take classes before the actual entrance exam. If you're, it depends on what you're, maybe I should clarify. Maybe if you're talking about the, LPN program, I would reach out to health programs at hcc.edu about their specific requirements in taking their program. That's health programs at hcc.edu. If you're talking about the entrance exam in regards to the Accuplacer, what Darlery has been talking about, no, you would not have to take classes before that.
There's a question from Denise. Will the self-directed placement take you to a remedial course, or can you enter a college class if you show readiness?
So at the very end of the questionnaire, all the options will be there for you. And then you select. And then English 101, of course, will be one of the options. We have 3 types of English 101s with various degrees of support. So we have the 3-credit one, which is the standard 3-credit English 101. We have English 101 with a workshop if you need that extra support. And then we have English 101 combined with a basic course. So you'll definitely see all the options. So we won't limit you to the pre-college courses when you do the directed self-placement. You'll see all levels of English listed when you're about to make your selection.
Okay, Henrietta's asked, can you provide me a phone number to reach the health department?
Right now, due to the pandemic, the best way to reach them is health programs at hcc.edu. However, if you email me directly, and I put my email in there, I'll put it in one more time. So it's mfessler@hcc.edu. So like I said, health programs at hcc.edu is the best way to reach them right now due to the pandemic. However, reach out to me and I can certainly get you connected to the coordinator or the director or even a faculty member. If you want to ask specific questions, we can certainly schedule a time for you to speak over the phone with them.
Great. And Rashawn, Darlery has answered your question within the chat.
Great questions, everybody.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much to Darlery and Matt for joining us today. There have been some really great questions.